Alrighty, and we are live. Welcome everybody to Coaster Time 40 and the last episode of Coaster Time for this year, hosted by me, Carrick from Coaster Hour. And today we will be doing a special viewer call-in episode where those of you who are watching can chime in via StreamYard to give your thoughts on the recent news and announcements. And I'm going to be putting the link to that and pinning it once I finish up with the news. If you want to get on there early, you can also go in the description and you'll be able to find the link to StreamYard. So there's that. And then we're going to open up this stream with a 20-minute Q&A that's going to start right about now. And actually, since the last stream, I've actually been able to visit Port Aventura in Spain. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll know I did this. But if you haven't, then I've kind of kept it a secret. And I wasn't sure I was going to be able to go, so I kind of didn't say it last stream, but I was able to go, fortunately. And yeah, that's pretty much that. I figured this was going to be the first question. Something happened to my face, very much so. Yeah, so story with this actually is that obviously a little bit of facial hair, right? My school, the high school I went to for several years, they had like a sort of a pretty strict dress code, and so you could never, I was never allowed to grow out my facial hair or try to grow a mustache or beard. And so now I'm in community college, a little like over a year and a half into it, and I'm experimenting with it. We'll see how it goes. If I don't like it, this could be very temporary, but I'm going to try it out, so we'll see. But yeah, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people coming in here just being like, what in the world? But yeah, that's what's going on. So yeah, there's your answer there. Thoughts on the lost Maverick track being found? Yeah, that was interesting. I wasn't even aware it was like basically transported to King's Dominion in the first place. I find that really interesting. It's just pretty random for them to do that. But it's really cool they found it. I did see that the Roller Coaster Museum was trying to see if there was a way to relocate it over to their place, which I'm not really sure how that project is going. As far as I'm aware, the museum's still private, but it is really cool to see people find that. I mean, that's like a really cool piece of history. Obviously, that was the Heartline roll that was originally meant to be put in Maverick's layout that never came to be, but it's really cool that people found it. And I mean, that's just really cool. So not much more I can say about it, but a shocking find for sure. What are my thoughts on your maps in Minecraft? You can look at them via YouTube community posts. I haven't seen your videos. I know you're focusing more on that. And by the way, Mason, if you haven't, for those of you who don't follow Mason's Geo World or Mason's Coaster Thrills, which I know you're moving away from, but I did a collaboration with Mason, so that's on Mason's Coaster Thrills, but he also has a Minecraft channel that he's more putting his time towards, so make sure to check that out if you haven't already. I have been pretty busy, so I haven't been able to check out the specific videos. So I can't really give my thoughts there, but I'll have to check it out at some point. I'm not a huge Minecraft person. I actually never have been, surprisingly. But I know a ton of people where it was like a ton of, it was a big part of their childhood. So friends of mine, and obviously still a lot of people play it. So that's cool that you're doing that. What did I think of Six Flags Over Georgia? I actually thought it was a pretty solid park. Goliath ended up being my favorite coaster there, which was a little bit of a surprise because at this point now, the other two B&M Hypers I've done, I haven't been extremely impressed with, but Goliath was the one that really blew me away. That was a really awesome coaster, so wanted to say that. And the park overall was pretty nice looking, all things considered. I also like that they had the dark ride, Monster Mansion. I think that's what it's called. That was really fun. Great overall ride lineup. And I had their the nachos at one place, which was actually surprisingly good. I was not expecting it to be, but they even had pretty good food from what I had. So it was a pretty fun park. Nothing like super crazy, but very good for Six Flags park standards. That's what I'll say there. Favorite new credit from the Spain trip. So this one's going to be pretty surprising. I got to do Port Aventura and Ferrari Land. I did all the credits except for the 2 kiddie coasters, which are, I believe, Tommy, and whatever the one at Ferrari Land is. I honestly don't even recall the name of it. Junior Red Force, something like that. But my favorite credit ended up actually being Furious Baco. That may come as a surprise to a lot of people because I know Shambhala is usually like the go-to favorite. But Furious Baco really surprised me. Really powerful launch. I mean, obviously it's got a hydraulic launch, so you knew that. But I like kind of the whole theme and vibe of it. Like the whole weird monkey theme was cool with the pre-show scene. And I don't know, I just thought it was pretty fun. I got to ride with it with my brother, who also got a real kick out of it as well. And the low to the ground, like sort of, it basically is low to the ground, the entire layout. And it's just, I thought that was actually really cool, you know, going kind of through the rock work, seemingly never losing speed. And that last Heartline roll at the end is just really good. It has really good hang time on it. And the ride, it definitely was rattly. It wasn't like the smoothest thing in the world, but I didn't think it was like rough really or like that horrifically bad. And I got to ride in both inside and outside seats, both in the front and back rows. So I was very impressed with it. So that ended up being my favorite credit on the trip, which, like I said, may come as a surprise, but I was a big fan of that coaster. So that's why it ended up being. Will I ever do normal YouTube videos? So I think occasionally, that's the idea. I'd like to sprinkle those in here and there. I probably won't ever make that my normal, like, content you can expect. And that's simply because a lot of people do coaster reviews and park reviews. And unless I go somewhere very special, very specific, or do something on a coaster or park that doesn't have much out there, I don't really see much of a point in me doing like sort of a review and whatnot, because I mean, a lot of people can already cover cover these things. And yeah, I just I'm more doing the live content, and I'm going to be doing the news roundup videos starting up in hopefully the next week or two, which I'll actually talk about in a little bit here. But that's going to completely change how the Coaster Time news segment is. To the sort of requests of viewers, I think you guys were who have been like, the news segment's too long. I do agree. We are going to have a long news segment today, that being said, but this is sort of a transitional stream. And that's also why this is going to be the last one for 2022. So, yeah. But in terms of like coaster reviews, park reviews, like sort of more general coaster content that you would expect to see just from a lot of different YouTubers. Don't expect me to do that on a normal basis, really, at any point. I'll say if I'm doing that, but it might be occasional. But like I said, nothing that is like super often, I guess. It's not going to be happening very often. Thoughts on Twisted Cyclone? I liked it. It was definitely very short, but I already knew that going in. It was very powerful, a lot more. I mean, some people had said it was really powerful, but obviously riding it, it definitely was more so than even I expected. The first drop was surprisingly good. I didn't realize it kind of has like a little twist to it. You can definitely feel it, especially in the back row. So I actually think it has one of the better first drops on RMC I've done. And that wave turn is definitely a standout moment. I mean, it is super strong. And obviously you're getting sideways airtime there. So that was an amazing element for sure. And there were plenty of other really good airtime moments. I like the final corkscrew you have there toward the sort of second half of the ride. Wasn't a big fan of the Cobra roll thing, I didn't really think. I mean, it's a cool spectacle just to look at, but just because it looks so weird. But actually, riding it, I wasn't too impressed. So I will say that. But overall, pretty good ride. Still not like sort of on the lesser side of the RMCs I've done. It's one of my least favorites, but it's a fun ride for sure. And it was better than I expected. That's for sure. What was my reaction to Bob Iger coming back to Disney? We're gonna have that on the news. We'll see how this goes. In some ways, I do believe that Bob Chapek was blamed for some things that he may have not had full responsibility for. I still do think there are some things that he sort of did, or some decisions that I think he was at least a big hand in. I certainly think the Genie Plus was something that he probably had pretty big influence over. And there's some other things, not necessarily related to parks, but maybe more IP decisions that they've made that I think might be more on him. But we'll see how this goes. I'm at least intrigued, and it's at least a piece of optimism, I think, because I don't think too many people love the direction Disney was going in under Chapek. So we'll see what Iger can do. And I mean, that'll pretty much be that. Stampede was all right. It was better than I expected, because I thought it was going to be like pretty bad, to be honest. It was a solid racing wooden coaster. What's funny is that the blue side runs way better than the red side, so much so that when I visited, they actually had the last two rows on the red side, they were cut off, and I think they were running two trains on each side, and it was the same for both sides. So, sorry, no, they had two rows cut off of the blue side, and I think the reason was because just from like riding both sides and seeing it run, the blue side was able to get to the finish even faster than the red side, even if the red side started first. So that was kind of interesting, for sure. There were moments where it was pretty jackhammery, but it wasn't like that the entire ride. So it was fine. I wasn't like blown away by it, but it was like kind of a solid wooden coaster. I still do think it probably should be done, should get RMC'd, which is not something I say for a lot of wooden coasters, because I just, I don't think that's necessary. But I think Stampede, out of all the wooden coasters I've done, minus Grizzly at Great America, which that's not happening for obvious reasons, I think that would probably be a good RMC. I think it'd just be a single track, though. It would be pretty difficult to make a dueling RMC, just because the layout, it's pretty tight over itself and everything. So that's... I think that would be nice to see. And I also honestly think that Port Aventura doesn't quite have a true elite ride yet, so I think an RMC would definitely fit the bill there. Gold Striker is better than Thunderhead pretty easily. I don't really think that one's that close. I do like Thunderhead, but I'm honestly, I think, quite a bit lower on it than most. Though I will say the last time I rode Gold Striker, it wasn't in the best shape, but I understand it's running better now because of the refurb they did on it. But Gold Striker is just more my type of ride. I feel like it's more aggressive, like the airtime pops on it better. That's pretty much that. Thunderhead is still pretty fun, though. I will say that. What did I think of Shambhala? I preferred it over Diamondback. I will say that. Diamondback, for those of you who've watched the streams, you'll know I really was not impressed with that coaster, like, at all. And it certainly was better than that by a pretty good margin. The airtime on it was really good. I like the pacing of it. The mid-course didn't really hit at all, so that was nice. I will say the hammerhead turnaround, or whatever you call it, the figure 8 turnaround, whatever you call it, I think it's figure 8. That was less intense than I had thought it was gonna be. Just riding a few other coasters, I thought that was gonna be a pretty intense moment, and there was some intensity there, but it definitely didn't live up to what I was expecting. But even still, I liked the ride overall. The airtime hills were varied enough. You had a speed hill in there, and not all the hills felt the same. Like, honestly, it felt like for Diamondback. So I thought it was a pretty fun ride. Also, great, like, sort of views you get from it, like being right by the ocean and everything. So that's obviously awesome. And I preferred back row on it as opposed to front row, too. I'll say that. I just thought the ride was better. I felt that you got better airtime, and you felt like sort of the pacing and intensity more. So what it had anyways. So yeah. Let's see. We got 4 more minutes here before I head into the news. Thoughts on Red Force? Very similar experience to Dragster, but it's a proof of Yeah, Red Force, that was the most disappointing ride at Port Aventura pretty easily. It is nowhere even close to Dragster in terms of launch power. In fact, it's nowhere even close to Furious Baco. And I did get a middle row ride on it. I only got one ride, unfortunately, just because of it was a long wait, and I wasn't in Ferrari Land particularly long, but it just, like I said, the launch was not at all the same. It was, it still had some punch to it, but it wasn't nearly close to what the hydraulic punch is. The one good saving sort of grace of Red Force is the drop following the top hat is pretty good. That was actually pretty nice since you're, going relatively straight down, not twisting. So I will say that was good, but it just was pretty disappointing. The other shocking thing with that ride is, and this is where I wish I had gotten more than one ride on it. It was more rattly than I expected, which is, I didn't expect it to be rattly at all, so I guess that was maybe part of it, but the launch was actually pretty rattly, which, like I said, if I got a second ride on it, I think that would have been better. I would have had more appropriate expectations for it, but I was pretty stunned with that, just because it's relatively new, and I hadn't really heard anything of that sort. So, yeah, Red Force, like, it was still a fun ride. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, it is. I'll just say it's far below any of the hydraulic launch coasters I've ever done, in terms of where I rank it. So, yeah, Ferrari Land. Well, it's only like, I think 6 or 7 extra euros at this point. So I guess, honestly, Port Aventura I thought was really good. If I were to like separate the parks, which honestly I do like looking at them separately, Port Aventura was a really good park. Ferrari Land was not. I only did 3 of the rides there. They're like supposed top 3 with Red Force, Racing Legends, which I'm sorry, that's a terrible dark ride. It's just awful. I'm not even going to go into that. I was talking with Jace from 808 Coaster Life about it, and basically ranting on it in a sort of chat we did, but I'm not going to go there right now. And then they also have a flying theater type of attraction. I forget what it's called, but they have a flying theater, basically. It was okay, I guess. Like, in a vacuum, it wasn't a bad ride. But it's basically, since I've done Soarin', it's so hard for me to not see it as like a much inferior version to that ride, and I'm not even like the biggest Soarin' fan, so if you've done Soarin', I don't really think that's a ride that's worth doing. And operations were really slow there as well, which wasn't an issue at Port Aventura, surprisingly, even though I heard that was going to be a problem. Like, the 2 B&Ms there were consistently under they were anywhere from like a 10 to 20 minute wait most of the day. Some of the other rides had longer waits, but that was actually pretty surprising. And Port Aventura, the other thing about it is the theming and everything was so surprising. I knew it was like really nicely themed and everything, but it's themed to different areas of the world, different countries, right? They do such a good job with like sort of immersing you into those areas. They like go pretty crazy. The buildings look good. The plants are amazing. Like there's a Polynesia area where they have all these tropical plants and it's like, wow, you really feel like you're in there. The sort of in China, as you're going up the Great Wall in a certain portion, before you go over the Great Wall, there's like literally hundreds of bamboo sticks. It's like pretty crazy the amount they were able to fit in there. The Mexico area looked pretty good. And I was also able to stay at the resort because it made sense tickets wise and everything. The resort was amazing. I got to stay at the Colorado Creek Hotel, and there was one place where we were walking along a path and like it really felt like I was in the woods somewhere, like back here somewhere. So they do plants really well. Kind of a weird sort of thing to say they do, but they do it. So I got to give them props there. And their Sesame Street area also is probably one of the better kids areas I've ever seen. It's really cool. Their dark ride, Sesame Street Mission, is also really good. It's a shooting dark ride. And believe it or not, unironically, it's actually like a really good ride. Make sure to do it first if you visit, though, because it gets the longest wait pretty easily. But, yeah. All right, I'm going to... I see Sean Flaherty, so I'll probably answer any questions up to there and then move on. But, yeah, I'll... and by the way, hi, Sean. It's been a while. Hope you're doing well. But, yeah, I'll answer the last few questions here. Do I think Universal is going to buy Port Aventura? I've heard the rumors. I've seen a lot of talk on like the Spanish park forums, I believe, about it. And there does seem to be some like sort of suspicious things. I know that there's like shipments of like merchandise from Universal. There's been some sort of permit things too, and that have been, and trademark names that they've renewed, and there's some interesting activity going on there, so I do think it's certainly possible. I still have to see it to believe it, so I'm not gonna bet that that's happening. But there does seem to be quite a bit of stuff that is indicating that could happen. So I'll say at this point I wouldn't be stunned. Also, I've heard like Universal people, there's been pictures, but there's been Universal people filming stuff there too, which is definitely something to note. But we'll see, as with anything. I do certainly think it's possible. Obviously, it used to be a Universal park, so I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if they were wanting to get it back. So, yeah. Top 5 coasters after the trip to Spain. Well, my top 5, like, overall has not changed because of Spain trip. None of the coasters there entered my top 5. But if you're talking about my top 5 coasters in Spain, which I only got to do Port Aventura and Ferrari Land, it would go... I guess 5 would be Stampede. I think that's right. I guess so. So I guess 5 would be Stampede, 4 would be Dragon Con, 3 would be Red Force, 2 would be Shambhala, and then 1 would be Furious Baco. So that would be my top 5 coasters there. I also did the Mine Train and Tomahawk. The Mine Train was pretty whatever. I should have done it in the back row because it has that. I didn't know it had the first drop out of the station. So I should have done that. Tomahawk was actually pretty good for family wooden coaster standard, so I'll say that. And I feel like I'm missing a coaster. I'm pretty sure I did some other one, but for some reason it's not coming to me. So, oh wait, no, actually 7 sounds about right. So no, I think that is the amount I did. What brought me to Spain? Actually, it was a family trip. My mom went to Germany a few months ago, and she was like, we should do a trip to Europe during Thanksgiving break. And Spain ended up being Barcelona specifically ended up being where we sort of settled on wanting to go to. And we were going to do Barcelona and Valencia, and Port Aventura is kind of on the way, either on the way there or back. So we are able to fit it in. And so that's pretty much what happened there. I mean, I'm not going to go too much into it because I could talk about that Spain trip as a whole, like, for probably hours. But what I will say is, like, I'll give a recommendation. If you're ever in Barcelona, the La Sagrada Familia, you can look it up, look up pictures and things. It looks obviously great from the pictures, but it is like way more impressive when you're actually there. The scale of the building and everything, in the interior, and just like sort of the stained glass, I think is what it's called, the way the light comes into the building. It's really phenomenal. It's not like anything I've ever seen. And I've been to a decent amount of historical sites, especially like historical churches and cathedrals, because I've been to Mexico and I visited a few in Spain. But that was by far like the most impressive of any of the ones I've been to. And it's one of the most impressive sites I've ever seen, period. So I certainly would recommend that if you ever go. Also, food is great and really cheap. So I will say that. That was also really, really awesome. Let's see. Yes, my brother's in chat. Sesame Street was one of my favorite shooting dark rides, unironically. I also did, I spent a few hours in Amsterdam. Didn't do any parks there, but I was there at like from 12 to, I walked around from like 12 to 1 in the morning in a night, and a little bit the morning afterwards. So I guess I'll mention that, but that was because of a long layover. But I did get to see the center of Amsterdam, so that was pretty cool. At least the bit of it I could see walking around. And yeah, it looks like that's all the questions. So with all that being said, I'm going to drink a bit of water, and then we'll be getting into the news, which will then lead into the viewer call-ins. So there you go. Aiden, my brother in the chat. Yep. Amsterdam, I mean, we weren't there long. But it was really cool. I couldn't do it. It was a family trip. I couldn't do anything there. So no, that was not why I went. It just, that was where the layover was. But it just certainly had a nightlife. I will say that, just from being there for like an hour. But, yeah, didn't go for that reason though. But funny you mentioned that. Alrighty, so like I said, I'll go into the news now. And I'm actually going to start off with channel announcements. There's a reason I'm doing this this time around. So first things first, if you're interested in coming on Coaster Time, make sure to fill out the self-request form. It's in the description. So if you haven't yet, make sure to do that. I have actually at this point well over 20 requests. So this is probably the last time I'm actually going to plug it in like via stream, but the link will be in the description for the next few streams, so it'll still be there. This will probably be the last time I actually just like mention it on the channel announcements, because at this point I have quite a few people interested, and quite a few people I want to bring on. So there is that. Next, we have a few other bits of news. Actually, first off, and I can now elaborate on what this is. I wasn't sure I was going to be able to. A collaboration of mine where I actually worked with Drew from Parks Bros. He invited me on to his Listmas series, the most surprising coasters list that I got to collaborate with him with is releasing today on his channel at, I'm trying to do the math here in my head. I think it's 9 p.m. Eastern, so it might come out during the stream. In all likelihood, it will. Yeah, make sure to check that out when you can. That was a really fun collab to do, and that's releasing later today. Was really happy to be, and really honored to be invited onto something like that. So that was great. And then there's actually something else. So this was sort of the big thing here. The way I'm doing news, I mentioned this earlier, the way I'm doing news will be changing after the stream. And I kind of went into it in a community post that can better explain what I'm about to go into than what I'm going to pretty much say right now. But pretty much, a lot of you have said the news segment takes way too long for these streams. I have come to agree. That being said, we are still going to have a long news segment for this final sort of episode where we're doing news in this way. But what is going to happen is that I'm going to be beginning a new weekly to bi-weekly news video series called Coaster News Roundup, which will begin potentially as soon as next week, at worst in like 2 weeks. And this will be where I cover all the news I normally would during these streams and potentially even more. And I'm also going to be able to give more analysis than I can during these streams because I'm trying to go like through things like pretty quick, right? So that's going to be pretty much that. The news segment will still exist on the streams like Coaster Time, but I'm planning to shrink the number of news topics to about like 5 news topics per stream, which for reference we're like at 20 usually per stream. So that's certainly a limit, a lot less anyways. And these pieces of news will be like the biggest pieces that come out or the news pieces that are most relevant to a guest I bring on if I'm doing a guest stream. So that's going to be the future. And this is pretty much the last big sort of news segment on one of these streams. So there you go. So that is the channel announcements. Oh, wait, and actually one more thing. I mentioned this earlier, but because of this change, I'm going to have to get used to releasing these videos, and so Coaster Time will pretty much be going on hold until at least probably mid-January of next year, so that's why this is the final stream of this year. Just want to give myself some time to sort of readjust, this should be a good time for me to do it because it's winter break, and I can sort of see how things go as I sort of ease my way back into next semester, which will be starting in a few weeks. I just finished my my last semester here. Not last semester, but the most recent semester here for me at a community college. So that's pretty much that. Now, heading into the news, like I said, we got quite a bit. I'm going to try to roll through it as quickly as I can. But we have our ride openings as always. Prairie Screamer at Prairie Playland in Texas has opened since the last stream, as has a Malibu's Jack's location in Lafayette, Indiana. That's a family entertainment center chain. They have an SPF Visa spinner. Viking River Rapids, a Rapids ride, has opened at Bin Wonders in Vietnam. That's the park that has the Vekoma launch coaster, Wrath of Zeus. Leviathan at SeaWorld in Australia has opened. It's actually been closed since I think it's opening day, but it did open, so it's still on here. And then Dragon Magic, which is an in-house dark ride at a small park in Germany called Magic Park Verden, has also opened. So those are your ride openings. Ride reopenings, you have Aeronaut Skyride at Busch Gardens Williamsburg. Pretty much what it is, it's a Skyride at Busch Gardens Williamsburg. It closed in September due to storm damage, but fortunately it is back open, so that is good to see. And then you have your opening dates. Only one, Mickey's Toontown, the area that is going to have the new Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, which will actually open before the entire area, but also what will be Chip and Dale's Gadget Coaster or something like that, the kiddie coaster at the park, along with Roger Rabbit. Those are like some of the major attractions in that area. Those will be reopening on March 8th of 2023. Next, we have our construction updates. Got a lot here as well. Air Force One track work has been complete. The Mach Dueling Launch Coaster has gone vertical at Universal's Epic Universe. And actually, Amusement Insider did a really good rendering of the layout. So make sure to check that out. That just released recently. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that. The How to Train Your Dragon Intamin coaster at Epic Universe has also gone vertical. And the Mythica coaster has had its track work be complete. So that being on the top right there. So those are your construction updates. Some pretty exciting projects of varying scales, but we have some more as well. The Vekoma Space Warp at an upcoming park in China called Oriental Heritage Yingtan. Track work has been complete for it. I couldn't get a picture of the construction, so that's just the formula as reference, but You can look at the links and find the pictures in a description. Same can be said for the Vekoma Rebound Family Coaster at Fanta Wild. Ooh boy, I'm gonna butcher this. Huane. Yeah, that's probably not even close, but the track work's complete for that. And the World of Frozen at Walt Disney Studios in Paris has also gone vertical. Next, you have the last few construction updates. Land, a new park coming to Poland. It looks like it's going to have some pretty exciting coasters from Vekoma especially. Has broken ground. Good to see. Wonderla Park in Odisha, India has broken ground. That is a new park from what is, I believe, India's largest theme park chain. And not pictured here, but this just came out today. An upcoming Zamperla family coaster at Wallaby Holland coming in 2023. Track is on site, but not pictured because it came pretty recent and there wasn't official pictures from the park. And so I have to ask permission if it's not official. With it coming so recently, I just wasn't able to get that done. But once again, you can look in the description and find the link for it, as always. Next, we have ride tests. Matugani has tested for the first time at Lost Island Theme Park. Ridderstrijd, man, I'm probably butchering that as well. At Hellendoorn in the Netherlands, the relocated spinning wild mouse from Lafayette has tested. And as has TNT, which is a Vekoma suspended family coaster going to Goombaya World in Australia. Next, we have our delays, which is only one. But the Voltron coaster, not official name, but just the mock Big Dipper going to Europa Park, has officially been delayed to 2024. It was thought that maybe it would open in 2023, but now it's official. It is a 2024 project, so there you have it. Next, we have our ride closures, which we got a decent bit. Wild West Adventure at Slugharen, which is a mock rides, rapids, dark ride of sorts, pretty unique. It is closed for good, but it will be getting transformed into something else, probably rethemed. Keverbaan at Bellawarde, a Zero Tivoli coaster, is closed. What translates to Nostalgic Roller Coaster at Skyline Park has closed, but that'll actually be, I guess it'll be touring on a German fair circuit, so it's just closed at the park. And then we also have Jet Coaster at Bennyland, which was a really old coaster, opened in 1968. It'll be replaced by Mini Cyclone in 2023, which is a relocated coaster from another park. Next, we have some more ride closures. Minirail at Leron, one of the older attractions there. I believe from like the World Fair or something like that. It has an interesting history to it. That is closed for good. That is something that the news has reported on over there in Montreal. And then Thunder Drop at Clementon Park has also closed. That's our Larson Drop Tower. It got sold to a fair company and will be touring, so it's not truly dead, but won't be operating at Clementon anymore. So those are your ride closures. Pending closures, Splash Mountain at Magic Kingdom. We have an official date for it. It will be closing on January 22nd, 2023. Obviously, that's one that hits pretty hard, but looking forward to see what they do with it with the new retheme. Disneyland has actually not announced the closing date, surprisingly. They said they'll do that in the future. And then you have our temporary closures, which include Nemesis, which will reopen in 2024. And then Indiana Jones Adventure. I just realized that Adventure is spelled wrong, which is not great, but oh well. That is closing on January 9th and will reopen in the spring. So those are your temporary closures. Next, we have our IAAPA news, which I'll kind of try to roll through it. You had many terrain reveals, including Arctic Rescue, Big Bear Mountain, Bone Shaker, Draken Falls, which is the water ride, the log flumish type ride at Adventureland, and then the Mauer Spike Coaster. And then you had several other terrain reveals. The Noble Rides launch car going to Oasis at Lakeport. got revealed along with the Zamperla LSM coaster train, Zambezi Zinger train, Wild Mouse train, Wildcats Revenge's train also got revealed, and Pipeline also got revealed. A lot of nice looking trains. I actually am a big fan of the Wild Mouse one. I don't know, I just really like how the cheese looks. And I also like how the Pipeline one came out too. So those were some of my favorites of the bunch for me personally. And then I also like Zambezi Zingers. I mean, I like most of these, so mostly good things to say about these. But it was cool to see all these train reveals for sure. Next, we have some other bits of IAAPA news. Mark Rides announced their Sunseeker flat ride before the event, but I assume it was like right before, so I kind of lumped it in here. Technical Park revealed something called a Da Vinci contraption. The only video of it was taken by Coaster Force, so you have to check the link in the description to see how that works, but that is a new flat ride they sort of showed off. Then you also have Funtown Splashtown USA. They unveiled their Haunted Hotel Dark Ride from Sally Dark Rides coming in 2023. Skyline Attractions unveiled some new attractions, or some new a new model plus a new sort of product. Their Aurora LED lights, which can be shown here on the top, looks really cool. I really like how it looks. Curious to see if we'll see something tomorrow related to it. We probably will, which I'll get to in a little bit. And then you'll see also on the bottom here, Trail Runner, their family coaster model, has also been revealed, which also looks pretty nice. Mattel Adventure Park, we got some ride info, basically on some names of the attractions. Bone Shaker, the Ultimate Ride, will be the name of the family coaster, and Twin Mill Racer will be the name of their thrilling coaster. Both of those themed to some of the iconic Hot Wheels cars that I am certainly no expert in, but I do know that those are like some pretty iconic ones. So there's some other ride names as well. Check the link in the description to find out more information about that, but we got that as well. Triotech and Latte World. Actually, Triotech's a new follower of Coaster Hour on Instagram, so shout out to them. But anyways, they announced a new PUBG walkthrough attraction going to Latte World, which is, I'm not super familiar with the game. I know it's obviously super popular, but I'm sure it must be popular over in South Korea, so that's cool to see for sure. Premier Rides had a ton of announcements. They announced their Schwarzkopf Wildcat 2.0, which is a new model they're reviving that I think they said that it's going to be coming back in 2024 officially. Pretty vague on the information there, but that appears to be what was said. Steel Pier is getting 2 coasters, including a Wild Mouse and a Premier Ride Skyrocket 2, which the Skyrocket 2 is said to be a ground-up one. There was some speculation it might be Zombie Ride, but it is not. We can get that confirmed. And then they also showed that you'll have to get a link to this in the description if you want to see the picture, but someone posted a picture. They showed a new concept called an SFX Dark Ride coaster. That wasn't really talked about much, but you can look in the description and see the link to that. It's seeming like they're trying to sort of get people to be interested in like sort of the Revenge of the Mummy type rides is kind of how I saw it be described. Next, we had Vekoma. They had a few things. They had their Circuit Breaker trailer shown. And if you go on their website, they actually also have put out some new ride models or ride types that weren't previously on there. They have a new generation water suspended coaster that you can see on the top left. They're also introducing something called Family Coaster Horus, which is on the top right. And then they have their tilt coasters, which are Pitfall on the bottom left and Cliffhanger on the bottom right as models on their website. They also have a Mine Train model called Mine Train High Noon and Lone Star that they haven't really put out concept art for, but those seem to be new models. So some new things there from Vekoma. And then you have some other general news. You had several ride purchases that are relatively small scale, but some of the most notable ones. Canobie Lake Park got a Zamperla NebulaZ coming in 2023. Tweetsie Railroad, which is a smaller park. I don't actually remember where it is. They're getting an SBF Visa spinning coaster. And there's a few other ones. You can check the description. I have kind of a full list. And not necessarily all of them were purchased at IAAPA, but it kind of happened around the same time, and some of them were, so I sort of lumped them all together. So if you want to look at the full list, you can look at the description. And then we have sort of the rumors and sort of talk that happened at IAAPA. Just some notes of things some people heard. So Skyline Attractions supposedly has sold 2 Piscetti Bowl coasters. This can actually be confirmed because they did a Ask Me Anything on Reddit, and they said at least 2 Piscetti Bowl coasters will be opening in 2023. So that is pretty much confirmed, not a rumor anymore. And then for GCI, there was an interview I saw from, I think it was Station Wait, where we got some information. 3 coasters in Europe are getting Titan Track for 2023. We know Joris and the Drac is 1, maybe 2 of those, depending on how they count it. We don't know of either the second and third one or just the third one. Like I said, depending on what they classify Joris and the Drac as, it's either 1 or 2 coasters. And then there's apparently talks of a European coaster getting full steel Titan Track that will resume in April. It was something that was sort of taken off the table for now due to like the euro dollar situation. Predator at Six Flags Darien Lake is getting more Titan Track as well. And Titan Track is apparently supposed to be placed on both Wildcat and Boulder Dash at lake compounds. And this one is more on the rumor side. I don't think this one was mentioned in the interview, but rumor is that there could potentially be a full Titan Track coming for Wildcat at lake compounds. You also have a new coaster called Glory Top in southern China that someone spotted on a map. Like GCI had a map of coasters in China. We don't know anything about this coaster, so I think someone posted it on Reddit, the sort of picture. But I guess we'll have to find out in the coming months what exactly this project is. We know nothing about it, but it was on a map. And then some other things. SNS has sold 2 Axis coasters overseas, supposedly. We've kind of heard stuff like this thrown around, so I'll see it. I'll believe it when I see it. Six Flags, they've appeared to purchase some attractions at IAAPA. They had some social media posts in front of the Skyline Attractions and Whitewater West booth. May we get some information about this tomorrow? I say pretty likely. And then Dollywood is adding some major additions through 2026, which was revealed through an Ace interview on their YouTube channel. They said they were very busy at this year's IAAPA, and like I said, adding some major additions through 2026. So keep an eye out for them for sure. All right, that's the IAAPA stuff. That was a long thing. Let's move on with the other announcements. This is how long it's been since I did the last stream, because I haven't even talked about this yet. But King's Dominion has officially announced that Grizzly is undergoing a major renovation for 2023. And more details, including who is involved in the project, will come in the future. Very heavily rumored to be Gravity Group. We'll see if that ends up being true. I hope it is. They did an awesome job with Beast and Racer, so definitely would be very exciting if they went to them again for this project. And should be a great sort of upgrade for Grizzly. Next, we have Lagoon. They announced Primordial coming in 2023. Still not a whole lot more extra information, but at least we have an opening year. And the official name is indeed Primordial, so that is nice to see. Next, we have Kennywood. They have announced Spinvasion, which is a Zamperla Gryphon, or Gryphon. This will be the first one in the US, the second one ever. P&E Playland got the first one. And it looks like a pretty cool flat ride. I'm happy to see one of these made it into America. And should be I'm not a huge flat ride person, but this one looks pretty fun. So if I ever go to Kennywood, I'll definitely have to check this one out, especially with how unique it is. So that's definitely pretty cool. Niagara Amusement Park released several announcements for attractions coming in 2023 through Facebook and Instagram. Amongst the most notable of these announcements, the return of Giant Wheel and their antique cars. Those are two rides that are returning. They're also getting a new Alan Herschel Pony Carts Kiddie ride and a new Sea Dragon swinging ship. They also confirmed the additions of their Pinfari Dark Ride and the coaster they were supposed to be getting. I talked about it on here at a different point, but it's not the Schwarzkopf shuttle loop. I don't know why I'm blanking out on it, but they are getting a new relocated coaster from somewhere. I don't know why it's escaping me right now, but those are your Niagara Amusement Park pieces of news. And then you have some other bits. Dubai Parks and Resorts has announced Real Madrid theme park that is opening in late 2023. It's a Galaxy, thank you. All right, thank you, Civilian Satellite. I was like, I don't know why I'm not thinking of it, but thank you. But anyways, back to this. Dubai Parks and Resorts, they own Bollywood Parks. Yeah, they own the Bollywood Park, which has Bombay Express, which hasn't opened yet. Well, this will also be part of the resort. It's opening in late 2023, and it'll have supposedly some new rides and coasters. We'll see if it actually opens in late 2023. That seems really ambitious for a park that, from my understanding, hasn't broken ground. Maybe it has, but I guess we'll see what happens. Next, we have some Mock Rides Big Dipper news, and that is that RCDB has listed an upcoming Mock Rides launched Big Dipper and a Zero Force coaster for Sun World Ba Na Hills in Vietnam. We don't know anything about this ride otherwise. I haven't even seen where this information came from, but usually RCDB doesn't post about something unless they have pretty good information on it, so I imagine there's something concrete out there that I just haven't seen yet. So there you go. And then next we have probably our big overseas news out of probably the biggest piece of it anyways that we got when I was gone, and that was that Dreamworld has unveiled a $50 million expansion plan coming in 2023 and 2024. This will include a new wave swinger called Dreamworld Flyer Wave Swinger coming in 2023. They're retheming their DreamWorks Kids area to Kenny and Belinda's Dreamland, basically a more local theme, which will feature 2 new rides, including the Big Red Boat Kiddie Coaster, which will be new. And they're also expanding their Ocean Parade area with ride rethemes and area refurbishments. But in 2024, they're adding a new Rivertown area with the relocated Vintage Cars Adventure Antique Car Ride, which will be now called Mississippi Motors. And then Jungle Rush, their Vekoma family coaster, which will cost a whopping $35 million from what I read, will also be opening in 2024. Basically, it's kind of like Big Bear Mountain, but in Australia, I suppose. It'll also have the first incline turntable, which is something they'd advertise. So there you go. Next, you have Six Flags Fiesta Texas. JB Thrills, I saw him in the chat earlier. You were talking about it. They will be announcing their new for 2023 attraction, or maybe attractions, on December 10th, which is obviously tomorrow. I forget the timing of it off the top of my head. I should know this. I didn't have the most time to research everything because this has been a pretty busy several weeks for me. But it is tomorrow, so if you're interested in watching that, keep an eye out on the Fiesta Texas social media and Jeffrey Siebert's obviously social media. So because that'll pretty much have probably the information you need to know. And I don't know who's going to be streaming it, but keep an eye out for that as well. Next, we have Vienna Looping, a mock Big Dipper coaster coming to Wiener Prater in 2023. That has been revealed. There is concept art for it out there. The coaster hasn't been formally announced, so I refrain from putting the pictures on here for that reason. But I guess it got announced because it was talked about in an interview. So you can look at the pictures on the website there. But pretty exciting. We knew they were getting a mock rides coaster of some sort, and it's nice to see it's going to be a mock Big Dipper. It'll actually also have a magnetic brake, and it'll act sort of as a dive coaster, but it's a mock Big Dipper. I believe it's the first one to do this, so that was something that got leaked. So some pretty interesting stuff there for sure. Next, we have Port Aventura. That picture on the right, I was there, so I got to take a picture of the progress going on with the coaster. So rare chance for me to actually put one of my pictures up for like a construction thing, but there you go. But Port Aventura, they have announced Uncharted. We don't know if that's going to be the actual name, but that'll be a new Intamin multi-dimension coaster, which will be coming in 2023, obviously. And that has also gone vertical, by the way. So there you go there. And then we also have Warner Bros. World in Abu Dhabi. They have announced a new Harry Potter area coming in the future. We don't know when it's going to happen. It's also going to be interesting to see how they handle this, because this is obviously not a Universal park. So, and it's a park that's mostly indoors. So it'll be interesting to see how they sort of do a Harry Potter area. That's certainly going to be a interesting challenge, but I guess we'll sort of find out in the future. Definitely a project that I'm curious to see what it ends up looking like. Next, we have our last pieces of news, and that is that an upcoming Southeast Asian park has been canceled. We don't know really much about it. It was an unknown, unannounced park, which has led to 23 upcoming rides going on sale, headlined by what appears to be the first ever Intamin Ultra Surf Coaster. I have a link in the description that has like the concept art and whatnot on there. That shows the actual coaster. It's just from Intamin's website itself, but pretty weird situation. Unfortunate that this park had to get canceled, but I mean, there's going to be some people who are going to be able to get some pretty exciting new rides, such as the coaster, and some like pretty thrilling flat rides as well. And I don't know if the theming had quite gone into the rides, but which is going to be kind of weird, because if they were already themed up, that's going to be interesting to see how a park's going to be able to fit that in when the ride wasn't made for them. But you have that, which is a pretty weird story to come out for sure. Not something you're used to hearing at all. And then next we have, obviously not the most recent bit of news, but a big one. And that is that Bob Chapek has been removed from his position as CEO of Disney, and Bob Iger is back in. As I mentioned earlier, this certainly brings some optimism to me, as well as a lot of Disney fans. We're pretty happy to see it. I think there were just some things that Bob Chapek was doing, and there were some also reports that the sort of culture and like sort of workplace situation wasn't the best with him in there. So obviously there was some reasons they got him out. We'll see what Bob Iger is able to do and what exactly changes, but it is, at least like I said, an optimistic change for sure, because I'd like to say that I and many others weren't exactly a fan of what was going on with Disney. We'll find out, I guess, also how much of that was Chapek himself and how much of that was like sort of the inner workings of things that have been planned for a while. So you have that. And then we have our last bit. This is a rumor, our only rumor for this episode. And that is that, and you've heard this one before, but I'll mention it here. The rumor is that Mission Ferrari may be opening very soon. This is obviously the long-delayed SFX coaster from Dynamic Attractions going to Ferrari World in Abu Dhabi. And the reason why this is that the walls around the facade have been taken down, and journalist Arthur I'm going to butcher this probably as well. I don't know if it's Levine or Levine, but he has said that he has heard the ride will be opening very soon, which he posted about on his Twitter. Like I said, he's a journalist and is, I think, mostly focused on theme parks. I'm not super familiar with him, but from what I understand, a pretty good source. So we'll see what happens. But definitely, I would love to see this ride finally open. I looked back. It was announced back in 2014 and was supposed to open. They said it was going to open the next year. So this was supposed to open in 2015. Pretty crazy. And it's still not open in the year of 2022. And honestly, probably not going to be open till like early 2023. But maybe they can beat it. We'll see. A wild ride for sure, waiting for this coaster to open. And that's going to do it for the news. Honestly, the timing did not get that. I got that through all that in like 30 minutes. It's not bad, all things considered. So yeah, there you go. And with that being said, I need to do this. I'm going to be giving, basically allowing for the opportunity, as I have done with the previous call-in streams, for viewers to come on via StreamYard and give your thoughts on the recent news. This is a viewer call-in episode, so that's what we do. And so I've put the link in the chat, so anyone who wants to do that can come in. I've also put it in the description, so I already see 2 people in the waiting room, so that is good to see. But anyone who wants to come on, talk about their reactions to some of the latest news. You can also go into stuff I didn't talk about. I had to limit it to 20 topics, so there's some things I missed. I know Universal just announced the new walkthrough Minions attraction. And like I said, I know there's some things I kind of missed or had to cut out, such as that and some other things. But if you have any thoughts on the news, you can give your thoughts on it, like I said, through the viewer call-in. And pretty much how that's going to work, if you haven't done this before, is I'll sort of basically let you know in the chat like I'll ask whoever in the chat, like whoever came first, if they're ready to come on. And then I'll give a little countdown. I'll bring you on. I'll let you introduce yourself, and then we'll go into the sort of discussion. But before I do that, I think the light can be held off for now. I thought I was going to need to turn on my light, but I don't think I need to. Yeah. So Mason was in here first. I'm going to check with you if you are good. And then I'll be bringing you on. Okay, well, guess I didn't even need to send a message. There we go. Alrighty, so Mason, I'm going to bring you on in a 5-second countdown, and then, like, you've done this before, so you kind of know how it goes. So there we'll pretty much go into it right like that. So, like I said, 5-second countdown, which will begin right about now. So I'll bring you in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Mason, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, thanks. I'm doing good, thanks.
Great to hear. And by the way, we've collaborated. I've done a video with Mason, so make sure to check that out if you haven't already. That's on his Coaster channel.
I'll put a link in the chat so they can click on it. Just give me a second.
It was a Cedar Point 5-year plan, so I wanted to mention that. And I know you've been moving more to the Minecraft channel, so I wanted to say best of luck with that.
Yeah, I just, I don't know. I find it fun, so.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put the link in the chat so you guys can watch that after the stream if you want, or now. I don't know. There's the link, but wait, can you click on it? I don't know if it will let you click on it.
Sometimes YouTube's weird with that, and I just saw Sean right now. I don't know if you're still here in the chat, but nice seeing you, and I look forward to seeing you here in the chat at some point again, or if you do a live stream, I'll definitely be on there. I know you just did one recently, so I'll make sure to come on the next, be in the chat the next one. So I wanted to say that. But I guess with all that being said, Mason, what are some of the news topics or recent news bits that interested you the most that happened recently?
Definitely the unannounced Southeast Asian Park. for sure. Like, it was completely unannounced and now it's canceled, huh? Well, that makes no sense.
Yeah, it's a pretty weird piece of news. It kind of barely made it, but I'm just like, it's pretty rare to hear about this, and it's now it's, like I said, unfortunate it closed, but now it's an opportunity for potentially new parks or people who want to make a park happen. It's a new opportunity to get some rides, probably for cheaper, and some pretty high quality rides, obviously, since they were going to a brand new park, like some pretty new technology, obviously, with like the Intamin Ultra Surf Coaster and some of the other rides. So yeah, that one was certainly a surprise.
Yeah, it's a big mystery for sure. Another thing I was interested about was why does it take 7 years to open a roller coaster? Why does it take like for the I've already forgot the name. It's not coming to me. The one at Ferrari World.
Yeah, Mission Ferrari.
Mission Ferrari, yes. Why does it take 7 years? I get like it's a complicated like dark ride coaster thing, but it shouldn't take 7 years. Universal can make their rides in 1 year, and their ride's probably more complicated than Mission Ferrari.
Mission Ferrari is bringing some really groundbreaking technology to the table. It's got like I think multiple tilt tracks, and there's a lot of things to it that are pretty complicated. Still, you don't want to, construct it for like basically 8 years, which is basically what they've done, but I'll say it's somewhat understandable. So it is pretty crazy, though. It is the new flying turns, basically. I think someone mentioned it. Yeah, Sean Flaherty mentioned it. Yeah, it is basically flying turns. Pretty crazy.
Yeah, for sure.
Any other bits of news or anything else that has interested you lately?
Hold on. Hold on. I'm trying to think of one. Oh, yeah, right. Oh yeah. Some of the IAAPA announcements pretty surprised me a little. Like I'm surprised. Skyline Attractions is actually selling a coaster. I'm guessing those two like coasters they're selling are going to like small parks or maybe a Six Flags park. I kind of forgot.
Yeah, the thinking is it's probably going to Six Flags parks, but you go ahead.
Oh no, you go ahead.
Like I've mentioned this several times, but I did the Skyline interview. We talked about this kiddie coaster in like a few of the questions, the Pescetti Bowl model. So I'm really happy to see these finally get sold. I know that like their earlier projects, Skyline certainly struggled. I mean, I saw Harley Quinn run once, and that I didn't ride it, but I saw it run once, and that was it. But I'm very hopeful and excited to see what Skyline can do with these new projects for sure.
For sure, and I have a theory, guys. I'm about to be JB Thrills right now. Are you? Look, This is going to be the most smart prediction in the entire history of roller coasters. I think a Skyline Attractions is going to make a coaster in Six Flags Fiesta Texas because they're announcing a new ride, and Six Flags is rumored to buy a Skyline ride, so it matches up perfectly. But it doesn't make sense because why would Six Flags Fiesta Texas get a Skyline? Why would Six Flags get a Skyline coaster?
I mean, it's a new technology. They sort of have one kiddie coaster, but even that is a little larger than most kiddie coasters, so it kind of makes sense. I mean, I anticipate we're gonna see it tomorrow. We've seen evidence that is like pretty concrete that is going to be announced tomorrow. But I mean, some people predicted it before we got that, so good for them for sure. So yeah, that'll certainly be something to keep an eye on for tomorrow.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Like when you're doing the Q&A questions, I put a suggestion in, and I don't think you got to it, that you should ride roller coasters in Ukraine next. What are your thoughts on that? You should do it.
I mean, it's the whole situation. I think I did cover the Ukraine, like, I mean, obviously that whole situation is definitely like pretty scary and goes well beyond like anything I discuss on here, obviously. And, you know, for anyone who's there or knows anybody there, obviously, like I said, a pretty scary situation for sure. But I did, when it comes to sort of amusement parks and coasters, I did report on the, one of their parks actually did get hit by some of the missiles that Russia was sending in, and so and they were looking to repair the I think it was a Zero coaster over there, and so which is just, I mean, that's pretty surprising, but like that's like, I mean, it just shows you the optimism of like, I don't know how to describe it, but it's like almost inspiring that they were already looking at options to like sort of fix it in a time that it was like so much uncertainty going on with the whole, obviously, like missiles coming in and everything. And so they were looking into repairing that coaster. I don't think they've done it, obviously, just because the situation's pretty crazy. But I mean, I mean, obviously that's something I can't do in the future, like anytime probably really soon, like actually going there. But, you know, I'm sure it'd be interesting to do that for sure, especially that coaster now there at that park has an interesting history because it did get hit by a missile. So, or sort of grazed, I guess. But yeah, so it is, I guess, an interesting thing.
Well, I really don't have much else. I mean, the last thing I'd say was pretty interesting was that Dubai park, I think it was called Dubai Movie World or something. They're making a Harry Potter land, which I think is interesting because I thought Universal had a Harry Potter rides everywhere around the globe because they have a Harry Potter ride in China and Japan, I'm pretty sure. So I don't know why that the park in Dubai is allowed to use the Harry Potter theme park.
Warner Bros. Made the movies, and therefore they are the ones who have the rights for the movie, at least the movie, like sort of likeness of Harry Potter. They lease the rights to Universal, and I'm pretty sure Universal has to pay them probably a certain amount every year to do it.
Okay, sorry, that's my bad. I forgot they're owned by. I forgot Harry Potter was owned by Warner Bros. I forgot. Sorry.
No, yeah, a lot of people probably like forget that, and it is kind of like so seeing something like that, people probably would be confused because, yeah, I mean, it's been associated with Universal, especially in theme parks, so long that you wouldn't think of it otherwise.
Yeah, I don't really have much else to do. To talk about. But real quick, would you be interested if I showed you one of those maps I was talking about earlier?
I think for like, you can show me later. I'm on a time sort of thing. I want to get through like sort of the other viewers' sort of thoughts as well. So you can send me it via Discord, but or whatever. But yeah. Sure, that sounds great.
All right. Well, I had a good time, and I'll see you guys later. Right. Bye.
Alrighty, see ya. Alrighty, so I think next we have East Coaster Fan. Is that right? Yep. Alrighty, so I'll be making sure if you're ready to go. Good to go. Alrighty, so I'll do the same thing, basically 5-second countdown. And yeah, that'll be pretty much that. So bringing you in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. How are you doing?
What's up? How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Same here.
Been a busy few weeks, but
no, I definitely feel you. Like, I'm hitting finals right now, and geez, it's getting busy here.
Yeah, I did finals this week, so it is a little bit of that's why the stream came out so late in terms of the scheduling. I wasn't sure it was gonna happen, but it did, so I'm happy it was able to work out.
you're all done finals and everything?
Yep, it was
Oh,
this
that's
week.
great. That's great. Yeah,
Yep,
enjoy that break.
absolutely. Alrighty, so out of all the sort of news things that we sort of discussed earlier, were there any ones in particular that interested you, or yeah, pretty much any bits of news that interested you?
Yeah, definitely the IAAPA stuff is like very high up there for me. I've always said like the week that IAAPA happens is like one of my favorites of the entire year, just because I'm big into like engineering, innovation, stuff like that, and that whole convention is filled with stuff like that. And it's nice seeing like all this big news come out before the winter, where that's normally just the slow months of only Disney, Universal, basically Florida, California parks. Being here in New York, Delaware, we don't have that luxury. But yeah, I just love the IAPA news. Seeing the, I know for me, Wildcats Revenge, the lead car looks amazing. I know some people thinks it look all right.
Yeah,
I'm in the
I'll
camp.
say I'm a little bit on a different boat, but I can sort of see where a lot of people are coming from. I think that there
Yeah.
are some good aspects to it for sure.
Yeah, me personally, I like it. It looks cool. The pipeline at SeaWorld Orlando, that's just cool just because that's a new model. I was curious, like, I know me personally, when I ride stand-ups, it's never been like the headbanging that's the problem. It's just been like that feeling you get when your legs are like feeling like jelly.
Ah,
And
yeah.
so I'm curious to see if that train will fix that problem too, but got to just wait to see when that opens.
Yeah, actually, I would think since it does sort of pivot, I would feel like that would help out with the leg thing, but I guess only time will tell. But that is a
Yeah.
good point you bring
Like
up
I was
there.
curious, it seems to be a flat surface, but I was curious if there was like a little even give on the ground. But I guess that wouldn't resemble a surfboard now, would it?
Yeah.
But like even past the coaster trains and like all the other news, like seeing like all these super weird food items, arcade games that are there. I know it's often overlooked by like coaster fans and everything, but that's just a cool aspect of the industry as well that I love seeing.
Yeah, I can't, IAPA is interesting because I know, like, obviously I cover the coaster stuff and everything, but obviously, and I've heard from people who've been, and I've seen pictures and videos, it's like, there's a lot more than just, like, necessarily the coaster and, like, true, like, theme park stuff going on, like, all the arcades, and I've heard the food there's great, like, all the items you're able to try and everything. I've heard really good things about it, so, I do it. I honestly, I probably should pay attention to that a little more for sure. But no, yeah, I mean, if I were to go, I'd definitely. Those are some things I'd like to look at and
Well, I'm sure
try out.
there's the age old debate: Dippin' Dots or mini melts.
Oh, I don't even think I've had mini melts hardly ever. So
I think Adventure on Long Island, which is actually my home park, I think they're in the mini melt market.
oh, your home park's adventure. Oh
Yes,
wow,
it
that's cool.
is.
Oh
Yeah.
wow, that's
I could
that's
talk for hours about that, but yeah, just, well, it's cool having the turbulence in your backyard, basically.
that's crazy. I guess sort of self plug, but I don't. If you don't know, I guess I might as well mention it. That my first interview I did with like a sort of someone in the industry was actually with the one of the family members who owns Adventureland Long Island. I don't know if you've
Oh,
seen it or not.
I think I have actually. It's with Jim
Janine.
Tilly's.
Yep. Yep. That would
Very
be
nice
it.
people. Every time I go to that park, I make sure to say hello to one of them.
Yeah. So I was like, oh wow, that's pretty crazy. So
Yeah, I mean,
that's awesome.
I went there a lot when I was younger. Nowadays, I go to Great Adventure more. I'm not ashamed to say that, but it's definitely nice going there once in a while to see what's new. But anyway, back to the news. I guess what the other news thing that really caught my interest recently was the Titan Track news, or I should say rumors, I guess, for Lake Compounds. So have you ever been to Lake Compounds?
Unfortunately, I have not yet. It is being from California, it's going to be a
Yeah.
little difficult to get out there. I really want to. Boulder Dash is has risen a lot on my bucket list, especially after experiencing some of the wooden coasters of the Midwest earlier this year. But yeah.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting park, I'll say. I mean, Parque Reunidos, how they run parks is basically the same as everywhere else. The thing though with I said in chat earlier, but man, Wildcat is not a great ride at all. There is just one part of it that jackhammers like crazy, and it's in a spot you just wouldn't expect. But so like if that received Titan Track, I'd be floored because it is at the bottom of my list. But Boulder Dash, that's an interesting one. I'd have to see like how much Titan Track maybe they'd put on that ride, because it's an interesting ride. It's rough, but you're going so fast that you don't really think about it as much. I don't know.
I will say I haven't talked about it much, and I know I've mentioned the Skyline Attractions interview, and I've been rooting for them. I will admit though that I do kind of wish, and I'm sure there's reasons for going with Titan Track. With the Gravity Group new track they have, the prefabricated track they have that they put on Beast and whatnot, I was really hoping that if they were to do something with Boulder Dash, they'd go that route.
I think the tricky thing, especially with Boulder Dash, is making sure really getting into that construction area.
Yeah,
it is super hard, and then like knowing them, they'd probably want to like maintain the trees all around the ride. I'm not sure if you've ever seen this, but Boulder Dash opening year in like I think it was 2000, I want to say, when there's like little to no trees at all, which is super strange to see now since I'm so used to it. But like you could see all the rocks on the side, you could see the entire layout. Now it's like super hard to see the first half. But yeah, that would be a really interesting construction job if they do decide to go with that.
Actually, I didn't even think about it. That's like, I mean, I haven't been, so didn't think about it, but obviously the setting's a huge part of that ride, so yeah, no, I would, if I had to guess, probably the Titan Track would probably be quite a bit easier to install without, I mean, it probably would be difficult either way, but I feel like full Gravity Group restructure and all of that would probably be way more intrusive than probably putting Titan Track and, you know, messing with, I think they do have to mess with the support structure a little bit, but it's not to the degree that it would have been with Gravity Group. So
yeah. Meanwhile, Wildcat's super easy. It's in the middle of the park. You can do whatever you want with that ride.
That one I'm not upset about if they roll with the Titan Track. Everything I've heard about it, it's like, yep, go right ahead. Yep. So, yeah, that was kind of an interesting one to hear about. I forget. I watched the interview where that was discussed. I forget if they mentioned in that the lake compounds thing. I think they mentioned Wildcat. I'm not sure Boulder Dash was mentioned. And the full Titan Track thing's a complete rumor, so I know that much.
Yeah, the only reason I know about this story is a friend of mine texted me about it. It's like, what would you think if this happened? I'm like, what? They're doing what to these coasters? But it definitely is an interesting story and one I'll be keeping track of for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's see. Yeah, I mean, those were definitely the ones that stood out to me. I mean, when I went to King's Dominion for Haunt, I did see them like removing the top off of Grizzly, which is interesting. But I mean, I think Grizzly's okay. I'm definitely happy it's getting work on. It's not the smoothest, and funny enough, this summer I actually went by your neck of the woods to California's Great America for the first time. Got to experience that Grizzly. It's interesting for sure.
I'm not. That's my least favorite wooden coaster that still exists. So,
no.
The one at Great America. I'm not a fan of it at all. The one at King's Dominion has looked quite a bit better, so I'm happy they're giving that one the sort of work it probably deserves.
Well, before the renovation even took place, I think the the King's Dominion one was superior.
Oh yeah,
But
probably.
but I will say, like, it is a nice park. I'm glad I was able to visit. Railblazer was great. Really liked Gold Striker. And, yeah, it's a charming park, definitely. I know you probably know a lot more about it than me. I just visited the one time, but yeah, it's the news about it closing. Hopefully it sticks out a little bit longer.
Yeah,
It's a sad topic to talk about.
it is. The sad thing is, so I live 2.5 hours away, basically 2.5, 3 hours. But I also live 2.5 hours from Magic Mountain. I'm like sort of dead set in between those two.
Oh wow.
And so because of that, I've actually only been to Great America twice, shockingly. I mean, it's pretty crazy. I've been to literally almost every other major California park more than I have been to Great America, just for whatever reason. It's not that I dislike Great America. It's actually, I prefer it over Discovery Kingdom by like a mile. And I do prefer it over other parks for sure. It's just kind of like, it's one that I'm gonna have to visit at least another time, if not a few times, before it goes, because I mean it is sad to see that it will likely close. And
it is funny though.
Yeah.
When we were planning like a family trip to California this past summer, there was an open day where we could either do California's Great America or Discovery Kingdom, and this was before the news of them even closing it.
Oh wow.
So, I mean, just talking it over with my family. I know they're not Six Flags people at all. So I made the decision to California's Great America. Like, I don't know, 3-4 months later, that news comes out. I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, that was a really good decision in hindsight for sure.
So like, yeah, I was keeping that trip secret from everyone. So whenever that topic would come up, it was just fun to like think in the back of my mind, I'm gonna be riding these rides soon.
Yeah, that's kind of what I had to do with the the Keeping a Secret Port Aventura, because I was going to Spain. It was kind of like it's gonna be kind of weird to fit in, and I didn't want to like say I was going, and I didn't end up going. So I kept that one a secret just because.
Yeah, I think I saw on your Instagram, like when you posted that you were there, I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, it kind of came out of nowhere because I was just like, I didn't even post when I was there. I was on a hiatus on Instagram because I had limited Wi-Fi there, just because of the situation. So I was kind of like, yeah, this is why I've been gone for off for 2 weeks. It's not like I died or anything. I just I was in Spain, so that's what happened.
Yeah, that's definitely. I mean, anything in Europe is just super appealing. Hopefully, get there one day. Definitely trying to knock out the America stuff first, though.
Yeah, I honestly thought I was gonna go more that route before I was going to Europe, but this opportunity came up, and I'm like, well, I mean, got to do something now, I guess. So, yeah, for sure. Alrighty, alrighty. So, really nice having you on here,
Yeah,
East Coaster fan. Make sure to subscribe to East Coaster fan. I know you got a channel, so
Yep.
I'd
Both
be
on YouTube, Instagram, put out content on both places. Yeah, so you could follow me wherever.
Yep, for sure. Like I said, make sure to check them out. And really good insights on Boulder Dash and Wildcat. Pretty interesting to hear about that. And talking about some of the other things. IAAPA, obviously, always a fun event to kind of see what's going to be announced, what's going on there. And so awesome to talk to you for sure.
Yeah, it's great talking with you. Great being on the live stream.
Alrighty. Absolutely, for sure. Alrighty,
Alright.
see ya.
See ya.
Alrighty. Next, I'm going to bring on Jay from Insane Coaster Junkie. If you're in the... Oh, okay. I guess, yeah, you're ready. All right. Beat me to it. I like it. All right, so I'll bring you in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How about you? Finals week, finally done.
Yes, same for me. It's like such a good feeling.
Yeah,
So,
I got 5 weeks off until MLK Day, so I just got some time to relax, maybe do some parks in between. Who knows?
yeah, sounds great. I mean, yeah, exactly what you want, right? After all this. So,
Yeah, after all this time.
absolutely. So, out of the recent like sort of pieces of news, what are the ones that interested you the most?
All right, I have 4 entries for tonight, and they're all pretty much localized in my area, so I'm not going to waste time. But the first one, Niagara Amusement Park, and that has been a bucket list park for me. So this all came to the fray in 2016 when it was Martin's Fantasy Island, back when they had all those other coasters like that Spinning Wild Mouse, that insane Frisbee ride, all that stuff. And I always wanted to go, but I never got the chance. And then years went by, COVID hit, and then Apex Park shut the park down, and then we never knew its future. So finally, Savior Gene Staples, the anti-Todd Joseph, as I call it, finally saves the
Exactly.
park. And Silver Comet has been one of my bucket list coasters because that will be my first CCI. Never been in
wow.
a CCI yet, and I'm really excited for that. And the SDC Galaxy, which I understand you did fail to mention what it was specifically. It's called
Yeah.
Serpent.
Yep.
So I'm excited for that, and it's about an hour and a half away from Erie, so it's just a quick drive up there, and definitely want to go there next year. Lots of new coasters announced, lots of new rides, so I'm very optimistic about its park's future.
Yeah, for sure. I'm happy to see it. When it got saved, I was happy to see it. A little unfortunate, there were some of the rides that obviously they kind of took out of there. The Spinning Wild Mouse and their kitty coaster, Max's Doggy Dog coaster, was supposed to open here
It was
in
a shame.
they relocated it to a family entertainment center here in California, and they were planning to rebuild them, but they just were like at some point they're like, we're not, and I guess they got scrapped or they're just somewhere lying in storage somewhere.
I was
So
about
kind
to
of
ask if they
sad.
ever like scrap it or relocate it somewhere else.
We don't really know. I don't know what's going on with it. I hope it's in storage somewhere. Maybe it got scrapped. Who knows? But I'm just kind of like, Max's Doggy Dog coaster always looked pretty funny, like just a train. So I was hoping to ride it.
Yeah,
but
they had some
couldn't get
rather
it.
goofy trains on it.
Yeah.
And I'm just the whole state of that park. I remember when I was on here for the last VR call-in in January when I talked about Todd Joseph and Connie at Lake Park. This is like the opposite effect here. Where earlier this year I talked about the downfall of what a bad ownership park looks like, and now we fast forward 11 months later to now with Gene Staples and see what he can do. So it almost feels like a butterfly effect.
Yeah, it is.
And I think it's the most astonishing part of it.
It is pretty impressive what Staples has done. I mean, saving 3 parks that it's like, oh well, they're probably done. It's probably over. But no, they're giving you another chance. So yeah, obviously pretty exciting there.
Yeah,
And
about 90 minutes away from me, so take a trip. So my next bit, I'm going to stay in New York, and it's going to be the Titan track on Predator. I know East Coaster fan was talking about Wildcat and Boulder Dash. So my experience, I got to ride the Titan track on Predator this past July, my first visit to Darien Lake in 3 years. And what was once the worst coaster I've ever ridden, swore off never riding again because Predator was the garbage. I mean, if you thought Grizzly at California's Great America was bad, Predator was 10 times worse. I don't know how you felt about Grizzly, but
at Great America.
yeah.
It's so the reason I dislike it isn't so much for the roughness, because honestly I didn't think it was that bad. It's just super boring. That's basically my biggest problem with it.
Yeah, Predator had the elements, but it was just unbearable. So they put new Titan track on that turnaround dive section, and it just improved the ride for me. And with some other cosmetic wooden retracking on that, that went from the worst coaster ever to in my top 20, like that.
Wow.
And I don't know how it did that. I know there might be some enthusiasts just questioning me about it, but the Titan track I think is a good deal, and I am really excited to see more added. And if I have to give a section they're going to work on next, since they just announced it, probably after the first Camelback Hill, there's a massive turnaround. And it's the roughest part of the ride. It jolts you. It like bounces you.
Oh, yikes.
And it looks fun, but doesn't ride well. So I think that's going to be the next section. I don't know what your thoughts on the Titan track is. I know some enthusiasts are a little bit hesitant than others, but I'd like to hear yours.
I haven't tried it out yet, unfortunately. I'd love to, but I just hasn't come to a coaster that is one that I've gotten the opportunity to ride. But I think for the most part, it's good. There's certain wooden coasters that like Boulder Dash. Although, as East Coaster fan brought up, there's reasons why it would make sense to why they'd go Titan track there. But like there's some sort of, I would say, probably classic and maybe elite wooden coasters that I'd be a little more like, I don't know that I want to see that. But for like rides like Wildcat, probably Predator is probably another one.
Yeah.
And rides that like, even like something like a White Lightning, if certain parks like have issues maintaining like a coaster, like just from wood retrack, I think it makes sense. And I think it's mostly a good thing. I'm mostly optimistic about it. There's just a few rides that I'm like, if they don't touch it with that, I think it'd be preferred, but not a very big list of rides for me.
Yeah, that's with that recent competition with that and the Gravity Group restructuring and the 208 retrack from Rocky Mountain Construction. It's going to be very interesting in the next few years how they're going to outdo each other with that.
Yeah, the RMC one, we'll see how that goes. Not to trash on them because they've been doing really good, but they haven't gotten a lot of traction on that, it seems like, because they got the 2 Silverwood Woodies that they put the track on, and they haven't, I don't think they've done anything since with the 208 retrack, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, we haven't really heard about the 208 track since the Silverwood conversion, so that's kind of my take on it.
Yeah, we're seeing a ton from maybe not a ton is the right word, but we're seeing work from Gravity Group. We're seeing more Titan track projects, so those two are definitely getting the ball rolling. We'll see when and if RMC can do that as well.
Yeah, it's pretty much going to be an arm and a leg race to see how they're going to outdo each other. And even like Zambezi Zinger at Worlds of Fun, even though that's on the Spiral Lift Hill, it's kind of a proof of concept of where can this Titan track go from here. And the Infinity Flyer trains and or retrofitting on existing coasters. Like, there is a bright spot in the future in the coaster industry for that type of thing. And honestly, I'm all for it.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure. Absolutely.
So my third of fourth, I'm going to go down to Yinzer country, as I call Pittsburgh, Kennywood. The Spinvasion, the Zamperla Gryphon ride. And I'm honestly really excited at it. So for those who actually watch my channel, I'm actually a big fan of flat rides myself. I mean, spinning is a bit of a hit or miss, but I am a huge fan of Zamperla flat rides. I mean, I'm kind of spoiled with Chaos at Waldemar, as I've mentioned before. So Spinvasion, it pretty much looks like one of those Hoos swing around rides. If I'm not mistaken, it looks like a modern take on it. And I feel like even though it's not going to be the most thrilling ride out there, it's going to be an exciting one. And it's actually going to be one of the more visually appealing rides in the park. And the whole re-theme of the Battle of the Berg. And I was talking to this one with my friend Alex, who's from Pittsburgh. And I like the whole area, but Cosmic Chaos just looks like a Nickelodeon theme ride at this point with its color scheme.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, it kind of looks weird, but all right.
I mean, I don't want to go on a tangent about Kennywood repaints, but they're repainting Swing Shot.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Like the former ride logo, and it just looks like the Wiggles to me. And I'm calling it the Wiggle Shot from now on, because what is Palace Entertainment Parques Reunidos doing?
Yeah.
But I'm a huge fan about Spinvasion. It's about time that section of the park needed renovation after the removal of Volcano. And as someone who went for the first time since 2019, so I finally got to ride Steel Curtain. Finally.
Yay, big dub.
Big dub. Good coaster, terrible football team.
Yep.
But I don't know how you feel about the Zamperla Gryphon. There's hits or misses.
I mean, I haven't done one of these. You mentioned the Huss swing around. I mean, I've seen these rides. I don't know why it didn't come to me. That I'm not like as in tune with flat rides, but yeah, I just looked at a picture of it. Yeah, you're totally right. Looks like a modern take on it, so a good insight there. But I mean, I think they look really fun. I've never done one of these. I don't even think I've seen one like a Huss swing around, and obviously not a Zamperla Gryphon. So I actually do want to check one of these out and ride one of these. They do look pretty fun, pretty exciting. So I think it's a good fit for Kennywood.
I've done the Huss swing around at Darien Lake, and it's it's short, but it's actually really fun. So I think the Gryphon will be similar. And the red flag I do want to ask, and this is kind of more of a Kennywood issue than any other park in the chain, but it's another prototype ride, and Kennywood is known for buying prototypes. We've seen that across the board, specifically with like steel curtain stuff, and you've seen the major breakdown. So do we feel that Spin Invasion would be another one of those?
I mean, at least in this case, at least there had already been one that was built at P&E Playland. It only was a few months earlier, and I have no idea how it's been operation-wise. So, but at least it wasn't the first one. But yeah,
the first one in the United States, at least.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, at least you wouldn't have to travel far to take a look at it if you were officials, I guess.
That's kind of my main concern going into this.
Yeah, I was a little surprised because, yeah, this is, I mean, the whole, you mentioned it with Kennywood, but yeah, they love getting their prototypes, and how well has it worked for them?
Not too
not
good.
Great.
I mean, I've been rather lucky at Kennywood, thank the Lord for that, but I know there's been enthusiasts who have been not as lucky. So I'm going to have to cross my fingers when I get back to Yinzer country at some point because, oh boy, we got a lot to cover on that. And then the last one I have, this is kind of unrelated to what you said, but this is more localized to me. It's the water coaster going to Waldameer, my home park.
Yep, that was one of the ones I missed, but yeah, that's a good one to bring up.
They did announce it back in September, but I'm pulling up here on my phone. They released more information about it the other day, which I'm going to put in a construction update. I hate to plug my channel, but I'm doing a construction update next week.
No, absolutely.
Detail about what's new for my home park. So many of you Bread fans know my Waldameer content, and so I'll give you some stats to see what you think. So it's a Pro Slide Rocket Blast, the first one here in Pennsylvania within a 200-mile radius, and 63 feet tall, 839 feet long, so the tallest and longest slide in the park, 3 booster sections, and 3 saucer turns.
Actually, I do have a question. The Rocket Blast, what other, do you know of any other ones that are of that model?
The one at Fiesta, Texas, Thunder Rapids.
Okay.
I know there's other ones out there, but when I was doing my research and stuff, Fiesta, Texas kept coming back to me.
Okay.
So this slide, this is probably going to be shocking the most, but they're not removing anything for this. And you might know Waldameer's water park is extremely landlocked.
Wow, that's impressive then.
So it's literally going over and under water slides. So they're weaving this thing in a tight corner of the park. It's starting right near their mat racer, and then it's going to jump around the water slides and train tracks and end near the wave pool. It's insane.
I mean, hey, it's going to make for good visuals when you're riding, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, the footage I'm going to get next year is insane. But what I'm most impressed of with this, like I said, this is the first attraction since Rally Racer and Whirlwind in 2020. This is a $8 million water coaster, largest single ride. I mean, I don't call Wave Pool a ride, but the single biggest ride in terms of cost. And this is a big deal for my home park because we've kind of been struggling since the pandemic. We've had our fair shares of ups and downs and fights and whatever salt, I'll say, in my channel lingo has happened. But I don't know what you think about the Waldameer water coaster. I'm especially excited to have this in my backyard.
I haven't had I've seen like sort of pictures of things of it, but I haven't gotten to see like a full layout and whatnot. I really should, because I wasn't like really, I didn't really understand water coasters at all until I went to Holiday World this year, and I'm like, oh yeah, water coasters, those are sick. All right, got to do more of those when I go to parks that have them.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm a big fan of water coasters now, so I think that's an awesome addition for Waldemere. I mean, I think overall it's probably going to be one of the better attractions there. So
Yeah, I'm super
pretty
excited. This
exciting.
will be my first water coaster personally.
Oh wow, you're in for a
And
treat
so I
then.
haven't
They're really
done
good.
anything. I just rode my first capsule slide at Darien Lake this past year. So I'm getting more water because I don't do water parks outside the Erie area. So I think it's about time, like you said, to start branching out to more water park related attractions.
Yeah.
So, and this is just the beginning of a massive 10-year plan they're doing for this park. $50 million expansion. And for this to be just the beginning of it, I'm just really excited to see what my home park can do next.
Yeah, that's a pretty good way to start it off for sure. And the water park thing's interesting. I also myself am not historically one who does water parks that much. Capsule water slide, is that like the drop slide? What
Yeah,
is that?
like you start up on the top and the floor drops beneath you.
Oh yeah, one of my local water parks. It's like I think less than 10 minutes from me. Got one of those a few years ago. I have not been there though since. So yeah, I mean yeah, that kind of lets you know that I'm not like the biggest water park person. In fact, when I did Holiday World, the water park there, it was the first time I had been to a water park in 5 years. I
Wow.
have 2 water parks within like 20 miles of my house that are decent size. So not anything like humongous, but you know, for around here, they are actually pretty solid for sure.
I mean, I hate kind of being spoiled with Waldemere and Splash Lagoon here. So I think I was happy to get to other water parks with Darien Lakes. I mean, it was only for 15 minutes. I did like 3 slides, but
Hey, you're
it
making
gave
the
me
most
a
out of
taste
it.
to see what other slide genres I could be introduced to. And this water coaster is just gonna, I hate to make a pun here, rocket blast away.
Yeah, it like from what I've seen, it looks great. So I definitely it looks really good. Looks like a great addition for the park, as I mentioned, and I'm gonna take a closer look at it. Just because, like I said, I've become a big fan of water coasters as of late, and I'm curious to see what this one's. Do we have a layout of it?
Waldemere posted all this on their Instagram. It's their most
Okay.
recent post. So it shows the stats, the layout. I'm not going to really get into that. I'll keep it spoiler free for you.
All right. Yeah, I think I saw something from a glance. Maybe it was from you. Maybe it was one of your stories or something. I'm not sure. I saw something somewhere that like I saw like a teeny bit of it, but I was like kind of scrolling through stuff, so I didn't get the best look at it. But yeah, I'll have to check that out for sure.
Yeah, so that's pretty much it on my end.
Alrighty then. Sounds good.
Yeah, so back to video grind. So that's pretty much my last announcement. I'm back to the video grind. I got some good things coming out, so can't wait to see what you got too. That news roundup, I'm really excited to hear about.
Yeah, it's something that I'm gonna have to, like I said, obviously take time to get used to, sort of feeling out how long does that take, and how I can like fit it into my schedule with the other things I'm doing. So I think it's a good time to put it out, and yeah, I'm excited to do it, and I hope it's a way that my channel can grow in a way that the live content necessarily hasn't really gotten it to. It's no secret, the live content, my channel is like, the growth has slowed down significantly since I've gotten to that. So I'm hoping this can be a little bit of a way to get some of that growth back that I'm sort of missing, I guess. So
Yeah, that's kind of the same way with too. I've kind of slowed down and I've started a podcast and tried to experiment with some things. And then I announced with 23 Summers this afternoon on my channel. So definitely, I feel like you're in a similar spot with me. I don't want to put it that way, but it feels very similar story-wise. I don't know.
yeah,
I'd
I'd agree.
I don't know.
I'd agree. No, I would say definitely I'm experimenting a decent bit. That's not the only new piece of content I'm wanting to work out. We'll see when it happens, but as I mentioned, I want to do something called a Coaster Draft live stream series. It's a segment I've done on Coaster Time, but I want to make it its own series because it's like it takes a really long time, and I can that way bring more people on relatively easier. So,
Yeah.
and I'll probably bring you on at some point if that works out. So
Yeah, I just got to see what my busy, chaotic college schedule.
yeah, we'll see about that. That's gonna be kind of the most difficult thing about that one, is trying to get on the same page with like 2 to 3 other people. But we'll see how that works. So
Yeah, so that's all I got for today.
already sounds good. Thank you so much for coming on. Really appreciate you going into some of your more local sort of bits of news and projects going on. And obviously a lot pretty exciting with Waldemere, their new water coaster, Predator, the new Titan track, more of it, Niagara Amusement Park. Obviously they're getting some good things too. And then Kennywood with the new Gryphon Spinvasion. So a lot to look forward to, and really appreciate you putting your insight into that.
Yeah, definitely. I'll definitely do more of that in the future too.
Alrighty, sounds good. See ya.
All right, thank you.
Alrighty, so that's gonna wrap it up, at least for now. If anyone else wants to come in here and give their thoughts on the news, and by the way, you don't necessarily, I mentioned this earlier, but if you want to talk about things that I didn't mention in the news, you can do that, because like I said, there's some things I kind of had to skip out for time reasons. The Waldemere water coaster was a great example of that, Rocket Blast, so there you have it. But if not, I guess I'll sort of go to like sort of a final Q&A. I've noticed like viewership's kind of dipped. I do know that I do know that like I think Coaster Studios was doing like a 10-year anniversary stream, which I didn't see until like not long before I was streaming. So I imagine that time conflict wasn't exactly great, but you know, this was what the time that worked out for me, so I kind of went with it. And yeah, so I'll do like sort of a final Q&A, and that'll probably wrap up the stream. Actually got this done in pretty good time, all things considered. So yeah. But any questions you have, once again, I visit Port Aventura, so if you have anything related to that, you're trying to multitask between the two streams, I figured there'd be some of that, for sure. Like I said, the timing was not ideal. I wasn't going to move the stream, though, because this was the time I was pretty dead set on doing. Actually, this is going to work out great. I realized the Parks Bros video that I was a part of releases in 8 minutes. So I think actually this is going to work out pretty well in terms of sort of end timing. Make sure to check that out either when it releases or whenever you can. Was a fun little project to become a part of, and it's nice to become part of more collaborations outside of like my own channel, which is something that yeah, JB Thrills, I know you either put out or were putting out your World Cup coasters things. I'm definitely going to check that out. That actually looks like a pretty cool concept. So make sure to check that out as well, actually. But yeah, I guess make sure to check out that Parks Bros collaboration. It was really, I was very honored that he invited me on to become part of that series, because I've been watching that series for years. So it's pretty cool. Between Kennywood, Cedar Fair, Canobie, and more, Zamperla is having a great year. Alberto would be proud. Yes, that was obviously like sort of the that was certainly a pretty sort of heartbreaking event that happened during IAAPA, the passing of Alberto Zamperla, who's an industry legend. His impact will be felt forever. There's nothing you can sort of take away from that. So glad that someone brought that up. I don't normally go and do like topics like that during the news, but I think that was I think Alberto, I mean, he had such a huge impact on the industry, president of Zamperla, and just such a large part of a company that's meant a lot. So that was obviously just very unfortunate that happened, for sure. And my thoughts are to go out to everyone at Zamperla, because that's just pretty sort of unexpected and sort of like you just tragic is I think the word I'm trying to find. What is my opinion of Great American Scream Machine at Six Flags Over Georgia? You know what? I thought it was pretty decent. I didn't think it was amazing by any means, but I certainly enjoyed it for what it was. It had some solid airtime pops. I only wrote it after the retrack, and honestly, I didn't think the roughness was that bad, really at all. Honestly, I don't know, something about the pacing of it. I don't know. It feels like it could run faster. At least that's what I felt like in my experience. But, yeah, I thought it was solid. Would I say it was amazing or like one of the best coasters in the park? Probably not, but I enjoy it. I wanted to get a second ride on it actually, but by the point I was gonna get a second ride on it, I didn't. Oh, I didn't even mention it. I mean, I guess Jay from Insane Coaster Junkie kind of plugged this channel, but also make sure to check him out. He's got some good content. But yeah, I wanted to mention that. The top 10, you thought the top 10 overrated coasters was a troll of theirs, actually. Yeah, that was, there were a lot of lists. I mean, because I'm part of the collaboration, and also, I mentioned my video, but also, like, for those of you who haven't, make sure to watch the other Listmas videos that have already released and are coming from Parks Bros. Drew's putting a ton of work into those. I mean, it is crazy. Trying to get a list pretty much every other day. That is some crazy high effort, and gotta respect him a lot for that. So, you gotta check that out for sure, because he's putting a ton of work into that. There's a lot of really cool guests coming on, outside of myself, I guess, but no, there really are. So I'm not gonna spoil it, but definitely a lot of exciting stuff coming out there. But yeah, the overrated one was an interesting topic, not one I would have thought they would have done, but cool to see nonetheless. Drew and mostly coasters. Yeah. Let's see. Oh, thank you, JB. That means a lot. Two of the best YouTubers says I can't miss. Yep, there you go. Yeah, Drew's you know, the funny thing is that I haven't met him in person, and I haven't even actually been able to even talk to him through anything outside of like messaging on like Instagram, pretty much, an email. But he seems like a great guy. Definitely someone I want to have here on Coaster Time. It just timing has been a little bit of an issue. But yeah, no, he seems like a great guy. So you gotta hand it off to him, and he did a great job sort of organizing the whole collaboration and everything. So I gotta give him props for that as well. I did see that the water effects were put back on Cheetah Hunt, like for the first time in like, I don't even know how long, many years. But that's awesome. I'm happy they brought those back. I haven't ridden the coaster, but you know, it's just nice to see that they actually took the effort to put that back in, when honestly they probably didn't have to, because it's been gone for so long. But you love to see it. So I did see that. That's really cool. And yeah, alrighty. I think, unless we have any other questions, which I'll give like a few, I guess I'll like give it till 9 EST. I think that may wrap it up. Just to kind of go over some things again. I'm going to be starting a new Coaster News Roundup series, and like I said, the next week or two. Pretty much, like I said, covering the same sort of news I would during Coaster Time, just, you know, outside of it. And, you know, that's going to be sort of an adjustment for me to do, but I am excited to do it. hoping to get some good growth from it and go into the news that you don't normally hear on Coaster YouTube. I know a lot of people like sort of rely on my channel and my videos, or I guess I should say streams, for like the news recaps, because on YouTube there's not a ton in terms of news recaps, and I do talk about things that either hardly are talked about or not talked about at all. So I will make sure to keep doing that with this new series. Gonna start out pretty simple. It's gonna be sort of like kind of podcasty-ish esque, I guess. Sort of unscripted, kind of going through the different news. I'll give my analysis and sort of take on it as I would. But I hope to sort of expand on it once I get into a rhythm. Like if a ride opens or there's some piece of news where I'm like, hey, I want to bring someone on and do a little interview with them toward the end of an episode or something. That could be something that I could do potentially, something I'm looking into, and I'm just pretty excited to get into it. So definitely pretty exciting. Coaster Time will be coming back. Just like I said, this is the last episode for this year. But I'll be excited to bring it back. It is possible I may go live tomorrow. We'll see. It's probably unlikely, but I will say it because if it does happen, well, I let you know now. With the Fiesta Texas announcement, the only problem is I don't know who's live streaming it. I'm going to see if I can get permission from someone who's streaming it, like I did with the last Fiesta Texas announcement. If I can, if that makes sense for me. It might not, but we'll see. If it happens, you heard it here first. If it doesn't, it didn't. So I'll just throw that one out there also. Do I have another? No, I don't have overseas. I mean, the whole this thing, I mean, this kind of came out of nowhere. I mean, basically, it sort of got planned within like a month, basically, the whole Spain thing. And it wasn't a coaster trip. It was just sort of a family trip that I was able to lump in Port Aventura just because of convenient enough circumstances. So, and everyone in my family enjoyed it, I am happy to say. But no, I mean, I'm not gonna say it's not gonna happen, but I'd be kind of surprised if I did do something overseas that included a park, because also the timing, I don't know. I mean, I don't even think I'm gonna go overseas. I actually tried to get tickets for Hollywood Nights this year. That didn't work out. Just have to try again next year. But because of that, I might be doing like a sort of shorter trip around here in the States to somewhere I haven't been to. Where exactly that is still to be determined, but that might be more along the lines of something I do next year, rather than something overseas. Like I said, this was pretty sort of out of nowhere. So that was definitely a surprise for sure to do that. I mean, yeah, I on it, like I said, I said this earlier, I honestly thought I was going to get through most of the American parts before I even went overseas. The exception maybe being if I went to Japan, because there's reasons why that would be likely. Going to Spain was definitely not exactly what I was expecting. I mean, if you told me that at the beginning of the year I was going to do that, I would be like completely floored. But I'm happy I did it. It was an awesome trip in general. And obviously Port Aventura was great. Any plans to come to the East Coast? There's some considerations that I'm considering in terms of parks I could maybe visit next year. And yes, some of them are potentially on the East Coast. Like, I mean, I'm not going to confirm anything, but some places I'm looking at, I'm kind of considering seeing if it makes sense that I could go to, or the Virginia parks are definitely something I'm thinking of because I haven't been there yet. Carowinds is another one, and we'll see. Those are probably the two main ones I'm thinking of if it were to happen, like that are like true East Coast. maybe Florida, but probably unlikely. So it wouldn't be all of those, obviously. It might be, at most, it'd be one of those. I'm just saying those are in consideration. And I'm looking to get a job. I'm applying, so I'm hoping that will allow me to do some trips that I wouldn't be able to do otherwise. Because up to this point, the parks I've done outside of my home state have pretty much come on trips where the parks were conveniently located nearby places we are already visiting. So that's why it worked out. I want to make it so I can visit the parks and intentionally go out for them, basically. So yeah. Any Kiwis in here? I don't understand what you mean. I'm really confused. So if you could elaborate on that. But outside of that, I don't think there's anything else. Yeah, like I said, I figured people would kind of be looking at both streams. Oh yeah, yep, okay, Australia, yep, okay. I don't know why that took me so long. I mean, well, you mentioned it, so I didn't even get it, but yeah, there you go. But yeah. Oh, from New Zealand, not Australia. Okay. Yeah, the NZ. Yes. Okay. Feel free to skip the torture contraptions at Six Flags America. You know, I could have went there. I did go to DC several years ago. It just didn't work out, obviously. I ended up going to Hershey Park instead, which probably was a good move. But you know, if if I go to America, I'll definitely have to consider what I ride and don't ride. That's for sure. So yeah, there you have it. So I think with that being said, I'm gonna wrap up the stream here. Thank you to everyone who came on. It was awesome to hear your thoughts on the news. And as I mentioned, obviously this is sort of an end of an era, I suppose, for Coaster Time, because the new big news segments have always been a part of the streams. It's been a part of the stream since Coaster Time 1, and we're at Coaster Time 40, so it is definitely going to be a big change, but one that I hope improves both the news sort of thing and Coaster Time itself, because I just think it's a change that is worth making. I'm not doing a stream until next year, but there will be pieces of content that I will be releasing before the end of this year. And actually, like I said, there's a small chance I may do a reaction stream to Fiesta Texas's announcement tomorrow. We'll see if that happens. I'm not putting a guarantee on that. In fact, I would say it's probably less likely than likely, but I'll throw it out there in case it does happen. So yeah, with all that being said, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time here on Coaster Hour. See you guys.